Okay, very good. So, my name is Dr. Estrella Luna. I am a member of the faculty in the PhD in the Law and Public Policy program. I'm also a member of the faculty in the doctorate in Law and Public Policy, which is a professional doctorate, which is different from a PhD. PhD is a research doctorate. What we teach in the PhD program is how to become researchers. And what we are going to do today is talk through, I'm going to present to you basically the structure of the program and, of course, answer any questions that you might have on the program. Hopefully, I'll be able to answer them through the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we'll make time for Q&A. Which you can go ahead and type in on the side. Since I'm the only presenter tonight, if you do type in something on the side, if I don't see it and don't get to it, well, when you type it out, just please be sure that you bring it back at the end of the session. And again, this is my email address. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to send me an email, and I will definitely get back in touch with you. So, we've spent the last couple minutes introducing ourselves. A little bit more about myself. I'm a public health practitioner by training. My doctorate is actually in law and policy and society, law and social policy specifically. I do a lot of work on environmental justice, social justice, as well as environmental law. We'll talk a little bit about Northeastern and the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. We'll talk a little bit about the PhD program itself, and then of course, how to apply. So, we've already talked a little bit about this. We're going to go ahead and skip this part. Northeastern University, for those of you who are not entirely familiar with it, we are located in Boston. We're right at the intersection, for those of you who are familiar with it, we're right at that intersection with Roxbury, Fenway, the South End, and the Back Bay. So kind of in a really nice place in Boston. Northeastern University is a research university, and our focus across the university is really on applied issues and applied questions. So that is really what we focus on. Even as we do the theoretical work, we still have our eyes on practical issues and questions and problems. The long history of Northeastern University is that we've been training adult professionals for many, 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 many years. We actually started down the street at the local YMCA many decades ago. And of course, in the most recent time, we've grown as a university. As you can see, we have about a little over, almost at this point actually, we have a little over 16,000 undergraduates. We have about over across the university, about 4,000 graduate students, not including about 600 students in our law school. The traditional emphasis at Northeastern University is on experiential education. And in the graduate programs, that often means that students have an opportunity to engage in practical questions even when they do their research. It's not discouraged in our programs at all. And let's see, Faria Mahmood just joined us, and she's a histology technologist at MGH. That's great. She's getting her master's at Regis. That's great. So the Law and Public Policy program is located in the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. We have two other sister graduate programs in the school. That would be the Masters in Urban and Regional Policy program, and those are master programs. Also the Masters in Public Administration, again, a master's program. We also have a master's degree in law and public policy, but the LPP program is the only PhD program in the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. We have a research center in the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. That's the Dukakis Center, where there's a lot of emphasis on transportation policy, economic development policy. We're doing a lot more work also around sustainability. We also work locally with one of our major planning organizations, the Metropolitan MAPC, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is Boston's regional planning agency, that is doing a lot more work around equity. So equity of all kinds, transportation equity, health equity, equity in terms of food access, things like that. One of the ongoing things that we also do in the public policy school is this open classroom series. So if you want to get a sense of the faculty and the kind of work and the kind of thinking and the kind of engagement that we do here, you can go to the website, and I'll post the website links at the end of the slide, to the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs and look at the Open Classroom series. These are literally free semester-long classes that focus every semester on a different theme or different topic. This last spring, the focus was on food issues, which was very, very popular, and it's open and it's completely open to the public. If you wanted to get a certificate in it, you would have to pay for that, but you could go, and we actually record all of the guest speakers and guest lectures, and you can see the kind, and you can, and we post readings and that kind of thing. You can see the kind of work that we do here. It's very, what you see in the Open Classroom series, those are some of the kinds of discussions that you would have in the classes that you would take at Northeastern University. So you all are obviously interested in the Law and Public Policy program, and so what we do in LPP is we focus on how law and policy is used from a cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary social science perspective. So as many of you have already noted, you all come from a variety of different backgrounds, everything from financial management, several lawyers in the room, healthcare folks, that kind of thing. And we take that experience and training that you've had and couple that with more training in law, training in theory, policy theory, as well as other social science perspectives. One of the things that makes our program unique compared to other policy schools is that we don't just teach applied economics. You do take an economics course. You might take more than one economics course depending on what your interests are, but what we do actually is look at how policy is made, how policy changes across the various arenas of policy making. So, for those of you who might be interested in social movements, one of our PhD students is actually looking at that very issue in his dissertation topic. How does social media affect the framing in social movement activity? If you're interested in legislative issues, we have students who are focused on that. We have students who are focused on the courts. So you take all of the different kinds of ways of understanding a problem and answering a question, economics being one of them, law being one of them, other social sciences included, to understand and answer questions around public policy. And of course, there are some opportunities working with our sister programs, working with in our different research institutes, both in the School of Public Policy as well as in other research institutes at the university and locally in Boston, to apply your research skills that you learn with us. So the way that the program works is all of our classes are held in the evening. Many of our students are they have families, some of them actually have part-time jobs. So all of the classes are actually held in the evening. The only exception to that is, and you'll see this when we get to the way that the program is structured later on, you are required to take a couple of law classes as part of this program. Not all of the law classes are held during the evening. Some of them are, and some of them are not. And that is one of the only sort of some of the challenges that you might experience depending on what you want to do and what kinds of flexibility there is in what the offerings are in the law school. But all of your core courses are in the evening. While we do encourage our students to be full-time, because you get a a different, fuller experience being a full-time student. You can do this program part-time, or you can go back and forth between full-time and part-time as your schedule allows. Now, the courses are taught by both full-time faculty and part-time adjunct faculty. All of our adjunct faculty are experienced professionals in whatever area of study. So just to give you a sense of who they are, Joan Fitzgerald, who's actually the director of the program, and she's also the incoming interim dean of the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. She's a full-time tenured faculty member, as are, Professor Barr, Professor Bluestone, who's very locally well known around housing and economic development, Professor Basso. And then you have other folks, for example, Stephanie Pollock, who is now one of our core faculty. She came on initially as, because she is a person with an extensive experience in both environmental law. She was actually the senior staff attorney at the Conservation Law Foundation for many years, and she is now an expert in transportation policy, locally well-known person in that arena. So she's now one of our core faculty, and she is a senior research associate actually in the policy school, who is also a faculty member, as well as Professor Ehrman, who is an experienced attorney in many areas, including he was actually locally assistant district attorney for a while, and of course works in and teaches teaches our law and legal reasoning course. So we have these are our core faculty, and then of course courses that you might take in some of your electives might also be either a full-time faculty at Northeastern University or other professionals who are brought in to teach special courses. So I'm sure a number of you have questions around the curriculum. The 36 semester hours, we are a semester. That our terms are in the semester. The law school's on a quarter system, so it's a little bit strange there, moving things back and forth between the two systems, but it is what it is. In your core courses, you'd see that there are about 7 different core courses that all of you will take together. There are different where you learn about the different ways in which policy and advocacy is done. Of course, you actually have to take 3 methods and design courses. One is in statistics, the other is in design, and then you have to take another substantive methods course, depending on where, what direction your research might be going in. Of course, your law course, as well as you do also have to take a law elective. For those of you who have JDs, you are exempt from having to take the law and legal reasoning course. That's a course that teaches people how to do what lawyers know how to do and what they were taught in law school. However, you are still required to take those credits either in another law course or, depending on your situation, in some other course. Usually we do require a law course for that. The philosophy of public policy, as well as economic analysis. Your elective courses, of course, depend on whatever it is your particular area of interest is. And these are some of the more common ones that we have seen. Sustainability and climate change is one of the growing areas in our program and actually around the country. But we have folks who are interested in all of these issues, as well as some folks who are interested in technology and a couple of other areas that you don't see on this list. So where do our alumni go once they complete their PhDs with us? This is just a sample of some of the more recent undergraduates of our program. We have one of our students who's now the co-director at the Community Project Center at Worcester Poly Tech is actually an effort to do community-based participatory research or participatory action research between with communities in the Worcester area. Lots of our students end up going straight into academia, as you can see from this list, but not everybody does. Some folks One of our students actually is now the president of a development company, and another person is doing research and evaluation in government. So, for those of you who are still interested in our program and think this is something that they would like to do, the deadline for admissions is February 1st. The application process is online, so everything is submitted online, and this would be for the fall start. We only do fall starts. We don't have a rolling admissions in our program, so if you even if you applied today, you would not, and we wanted to admit you, you wouldn't start until next fall. What you need to do is complete the online application. Everything is submitted online. We do need a current resume. You do need to take the GREs, and so please, this information is also located on our website, but if you want to note it down right now, you can send your GRE scores with this code, and that makes sure that it gets to us. We need copies of all of your transcripts, and this is particularly important for anybody who has any either their undergraduate or maybe master's work overseas. You definitely need to get that process rolling as soon as possible, because it sometimes can take months to get some of those transcripts. So we do need copies of all transcripts before we can evaluate your application. We also will need 3 letters of recommendation, and these need to be current letters of recommendation. The instructions on how to complete those are located in the online application. So one of the things that I want to strongly recommend to you is that you let your recommender know the kind of program that you are applying to, so that they can tailor that letter of recommendation to this particular program. Generic letters of recommendation generally are not as helpful as specific letters of recommendation. And of course, you need to write a statement that tells us something about why you are interested in this program, what you think this PhD is going to do for you. Where would you go with this PhD? What are you interested in studying? Is there a specific question or problem or issue you would like to explore as you learn to do research through our program? And of course, there is an application fee. The application fee is waived for certain folks. So people who are veterans, we waive the fee, and then we also waive the fee, I believe, for certain other categories of people. Again, this information is available in the online application. There is some scholarships and financial aid available. What's important about this that you should know is that if you want to be considered for any financial aid, you need to get your application in as soon as possible. The earlier, we do make all these decisions in the spring, but the earlier we know that you are going to be accepted, the greater the likelihood that you might be awarded one of the scholarships or grants. The Yellow Ribbon Program is a program for veterans specifically, so if any one of you are veterans, we do definitely support our veterans at Northeastern University through grants and scholarships. And of course, you do need to fill out your FAFSA in order to apply for financial, at least for federally subsidized financial aid. So here are some links that you might want to make note of. If you want to take a look at the Open Classroom series, and the food one, by the way, is very, very interesting. And so every single one of the sessions, it's a once a week class, so every single one of the sessions is recorded and they're up there. You would do that by going to the policy school. I apologize, we did forget to change this when we revised this particular slide. The web link for the LPP program, if you haven't already seen it, is northeastern.edu/LPP. And of course, more information is available at our admissions office and in our financial aid office. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up for any questions that people have. If you could go ahead and type it into the chat so that everyone else can see it, and we'll do our best. We have a half an hour left, so we'll do our best to get through all of your questions as best as we can. So Leslie is asking if there's a stipend for full-time and part-time students. We do try to provide, for some of our students, we do try to provide stipends. There is no guarantee that you would get a stipend, but we do do our best to provide both TAs, teaching assistantships, excuse me, and research assistantships for our students. Those stipends would be available only to full-time students. They would not be available to part-time students. Jeff is asking, how long has the LPP program been around? LPP program was originally conceived of in the early 1980s. When it was originally created, it was the Law, Policy, and Society program. And it was, we offered both master's and PhDs since the 1980s. We have, about 2 years ago, we changed our name to better reflect what we really are focused on, which is law and public policy, not just, law and society generally. There are law and society programs. Those are different kinds of programs than what we teach. We are very specifically an applied policy program. Let's see. Faria is asking, how long does it take to complete the courses? As a full-time student, most full-time students are able to get through the 36 units within 2 years, within 4 semesters, depending on one of the challenges that sometimes happens with the law school, because you do have to take a law school elective. So finding the right course that fits your interests and your needs can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. So sometimes there's a student that has to take a summer quarter course in the law school. But for the most part, it's about 4 semesters. Part-time students, it depends on how many classes they take at a time. On average, our classes are about 3 or 4 units each. So if you're only, if you're only taking 8 units a semester, you can imagine it takes longer than if you take 12 units a semester. Leslie's asking a really good question. How many applications do we receive? We receive lots and lots of applications. Obviously goes up and down every year, but we do get many, many applications. I can't remember how many we got this year. The class size varies, and we're very particular about, we want to make sure that we have the right students in our cohorts. So they generally average around 12 to 14. We've gone as low as, I believe some years ago we had as low as 6. I think we've never really gone above 16. So they tend to be in the 12 to 14 students for every fall class. That's a very good question. So on Northeastern, so we usually accept somewhere between 12 to 14 every year. Do we have special scholarships in Northeastern? So Lolly is asking, do we have any special scholarships for people from special countries, for developing countries? To my knowledge, Northeastern University and well, the Law and Public Policy program does not specifically. To my knowledge, Northeastern University, we do support our international students in terms of providing them with assistance with getting housing and integrating into Boston and things like that. But I'm not aware of any special scholarships for those countries. Usually, in my experience, the special scholarships for people from certain countries usually come through those countries themselves. So we've had students, for example, from a couple of Middle Eastern countries where they basically had a government-sponsored scholarship that paid their tuition. But the university itself does not provide special scholarships for people from, for example, developing countries. The minimum GRE score. Very good. Rose is asking an excellent question. The GRE is kind of a funny thing. I don't want to say that we have a minimum or a maximum. Well, there is a maximum. Obviously, if you hit the maximum, we're not going to worry about that. It really varies from year to year because it does depend on, who's coming in. The GRE tends to be more of a tiebreaker as much as it is, a filter for students. Obviously, if you have really, really low GRE scores, unless you have some really impressive statements and some impressive letters of recommendation and impressive academic record, um, we obviously are going to put you lower on the list. There's no weight that's attached to any given section, though. In my experience with working on the admissions committee, we've never looked at, well, their math scores were higher than their language scores and things like that. So it tends to be more of the tiebreaker between two, equally qualified candidates. So if you're still studying for your GRE, I do highly recommend to take advantage of getting the books from your local public library, or if you have the money, to go ahead and spend the money and take the courses to prep for the GRE. They really are worth it in terms of helping you get your scores up. But if I wouldn't worry too much about trying to get one extra point between one score and another. Are students who have only undergraduate degrees accepted? Is there? So Jonathan is asking, do we only accept undergraduate degrees, or is there a preference for advanced degree applications? We do prefer students that have either a master's or a mid-level degree like a JD, a legal degree. That is not to say that we wouldn't look at an application that of a student that had only a bachelor's degree. If you have a bachelor's degree, we would actually recommend that you apply for the master's program. And, if depending on your performance there, occasionally there have been special circumstances in which we've actually transferred students from the master's into the PhD program. But we do actually encourage you, if you have a bachelor's degree, you probably really need to consider taking the master's program or obtaining a master's degree. You can apply, and we will look at it. And obviously, very high performing, impressive candidates will be considered, but it is definitely going to put you further down the list than somebody with a master's degree. So, Maureen has said that she took Intro to Economic Analysis in the fall. Is this one of the courses on the PhD track? In economic analysis is a class that one of our a student might take as an elective. If you took it as part of a degree granting program, we do not double count classes in our program, at least not in the PhD program, not at this time. But it is, if you've taken it, it will definitely make your life a lot easier when you take economic analysis for policy. Those of you who do feel like, especially if you have not had some basic classes like economics or basic American government, you might want to take advantage of, your local community college to, beef up your skills in the summer before your courses start, so that you will have a less of a difficult time when you are taking the basic economics classes. Jeff is asking, how long does it take to assign a supervisor to a dissertation proposal? Okay, so this is one of the interesting things about our program is we are a cross-disciplinary program. So, and if I can go, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the core faculty list. If you notice here, many of these folks are in different units of the university. So Professor Barr is in the College of Health Sciences. She's in the pharmacy program there. Professor Basso is in the political science department. Professor Dainard is in the law school. Professor Koenig is in the sociology department. Greg Goodale, Professor Goodale, he's in communications. So all of our faculty come from across the university. We actually have faculty students that have taken courses in the criminal justice department with James Allen Fox and Carlos Cuevas. We've had students that work with students in with faculty in the business school. So in our program, one of the things that you do um, is once you've taken your core courses, what will happen is you will have to take a comprehensive exam in order, and that exam tests your knowledge and skill sets that would prepare you to being able to do a dissertation. For those of you who pass the comprehensive exams, you spend a year in seminar with me specifically in order to prepare your dissertation proposal. And through that year, that's where you really start to work on developing your dissertation committee. In our program, we do try, we will definitely match you up with an advisor to help you with selecting your courses and that kind of thing, and introducing you to faculty as your interests start to coalesce and evolve and coalesce around something. But really, it isn't until your seminar year that you really start to pick and choose people that you want to work with. One of the things that we encourage all of our students to do is especially with their elective courses, is to take classes with faculty who who are potential committee members for their dissertation. That way, it's a lot easier to agree to being on a dissertation committee when you know the student and you've had them in your class than it is coming cold. And we do have a process in place where we do assist students in putting their committees together and introducing them to faculty so that you can get your committee put together and you have people to work with. But in our program, in general, you are not placed with somebody and forced to stay with that person and work on their projects the entire time that you're here. That does happen. Some of our students have actually worked with one person. You know, they're usually takes 5 to 7 years while they're here doing this kind of thing. But for the most part, actually, this is an interdisciplinary program, so you're going to be working with lots of different people throughout the time that you're working with us. Let me see if I can. Okay. Rose is asking what's considered a low score, and I want to apologize, Rose. I really cannot answer that right now because I don't have my scoring sheets, all of our scoring sheets that we use when we look through the applications. I don't have that in front of me. So I really can't, I don't even want to hazard a guess because, we only do this a few times a year and I always forget the number until I see it on the piece of paper. But definitely send me an email and I will get back to you on that, okay? Faria's asking which GRE. There's only one. I'm not aware of subject-specific GREs. We accept the general GRE exam. Okay, Leslie says she doesn't see any particular professor whose interest overlaps with hers. Let me just look and see, Leslie, what your interest was. Again, can you let us know what your interest is, Leslie? And then I'll get back to you. Oh, IP and public policy. Okay, actually, it's interesting that you say that because we are in our law school. Actually, we just hired about a year and a half ago a new professor whose name escapes me at the moment. His first name is Michael, and I do not remember what his last name is. Who's a specialist in IP law and public policy. So if you were interested in IP law, for example, and we do actually have folks that are interested both in, actually I do have another student now that I think about it who's also doing something around IP law and public policy. I don't remember who he's working at, but we do have students who are doing that. But if you were interested in IP law, obviously one of the things that your advisor would tell you is that you need to take the IP law class that this particular professor of law teaches in the law school when you do your law elective. The other thing about working with your professor is sometimes you work with a professor that doesn't necessarily have a specific interest, substantive domain with you, but can help you with the research that you are going to do. So, for example, I'm on a particular committee um, where the student is looking at copyright law. Copyright law is about as far away from anything that I do as you can possibly get, except maybe underwater basket weaving and marine biology. But I'm a qualitative researcher, and I've also done some work in behavioral economics and with game theory, with the theoretical aspects of game theory. And because his research involves both doing qualitative design, it involves a qualitative design and also involves incorporating some game theoretic elements to the design. I'm actually sitting on his committee actually as his chair. So not the people who are on your committees actually do serve different purposes and different functions. So while we do definitely want to make sure that you have somebody on your committee that's specific to your substantive area, sometimes that person is actually an outside person that maybe you met at a conference where you were presenting your ideas at, or that you've been interacting with, or a former professor that you want to continue to work with, because you are allowed to have at least one person on your committee can be from the outside. So there's different ways to put together PhD dissertation committees. Sometimes it has to do with the domain of interest, and sometimes it has to do with actual research method and design. So to answer the second question, yes, you can have an advisor. Many of our students actually do have, and it's actually a very good idea whether you come to our program in LPP or to another program elsewhere. It's not a bad idea if your program allows it to have an outside person, because part of the function of your committee members is not only to help you do your research, but also to help you publish, to help you present at conferences, to help write letters of recommendation for you when you're getting jobs after you finish. So there's lots of different functions that we play for those of us who sit on committees. So it's always a good idea to have someone from another institution if the program allows it, and we certainly do. Are there workshops for developing networks? Very good. This is an excellent question. So Northeastern University does have all kinds of workshops for all kinds of things throughout the university. And sometimes they're in places where you wouldn't necessarily see them or expect them. For example, we on the undergraduate side, we have a center, a Latino Cultural Student Center. And it's mostly working with the undergraduate Latino students who come to Northeastern University. And every month they actually have, during the school year, they have a LinkedIn workshop that teaches people how to use LinkedIn. And several of my graduate students and actually some of us faculty have also sat in on those workshops. So there's lots of those kinds of workshops happening. Boston is a wonderful place to actually be, because there's a dense network of networks here in Boston where you can get to know other people both in your field and even outside your field, but that are interesting people to talk to, that can introduce you to interesting people for for getting your ideas out there, for thinking through different ways of disseminating your ideas for your research and things like that. In addition to that, the Law and Public Policy program, we have a very active student association. And the student association is also an excellent resource that the students themselves run, actually. The faculty are only involved insofar as we have to sign things for money and that kind of thing. But the students run the LPP Student Association, and they themselves also have workshops. I've actually facilitated workshops on how to use certain pieces of technology for like referencing, for those of you who know EndNote and things like that. So, and that bring in speakers from different, I think some years ago we actually had a whole speaker series that included folks from area universities. So the LPP program, the LPP Student Association, is also another excellent resource for things like for helping people develop that network. Michael Bennett, yes, thank you. Michael Bennett is a wonderful person. He does excellent work, and he is actually has been wonderful to work with. So yes, if you were to be admitted into the program, he would be somebody that I would definitely tell you, Leslie, that you would have to, you would definitely need to be taking his course. Okay, Faria asked, what's the tuition? I don't know what the tuition is in terms of the hours. Generally, if I remember this correctly, our tuition is the tuition alone, tuition and general fees, is somewhere around 35,000 a year. And then of course, if you go down to part-time, it is whatever the semester hours are. Again, please send me an email and I can get that information to you. Or you can look on our financial services website and they would definitely have that information to you. Jeff asks, how does Northeastern manage committee members not offering substantive or timely participation? Okay, so that's a good question. Again, this is a cross-disciplinary program, and at the PhD level, you are in charge of your committee. And these are things that obviously when you get to having me in the seminar and working with me, or whoever might become me in the future, we talk a lot about this, but this is your degree. This is a terminal degree. And we're not the kind of program where we are in charge and you just do what we tell you to do. This is a program where you have core courses that you have to take, but you also have electives that you need to choose from, and you also need to take the initiative to speak to your advisors or to find advisors that are going to help you. You need to take the initiative to work with your fellow classmates on networking and on talking to each other about who's good to take and